How's it going, guys? So for today's video, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to be doing like a podcast talk slash interview with Omnic Lab. As you can see on my screen, we have Omnic Lab's website pulled up with their links to everything. They primarily have their podcast on iTunes, but they also do the Twitch stream, and they have the rest of their links here, like Discord, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc., etc. Really high quality content from them. They're an Overwatch related group. They talk about news and everything else. And one of the guys that actually runs it is one of my mods. So if you guys are interested in checking out their content, just go to this website, omniclab.com/links, and it'll forward you to everything. So I'll go ahead and introduce Rob. He's one of the mods. Like I said, he runs the Omnic Lab, and he can introduce himself in a couple seconds. Here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, PvP. It's been a blast. We had you on the show a month and a half ago, I think now, talking about Junkrat. So we like to do a lot of hero spotlights, something like that. Wow. It's on the archive page there. If you guys like anything for Overwatch in particular, our show's mostly about learning and strategy. Those are our two things. So if you want to improve, we try to bring in people like PvP, or we got Curry Shot TV for McCree. We got Jake from LG Evil. We got Fact Fiction from FaZe Clan. So talk about their heroes that they want to talk about. And we also like to do map breakdowns and a few things in the news. We don't cover as much esports because it's not like official yet, but we'll get to that when we start breaking down strategies within esports when Overwatch League officially launches.
I'll look forward
to that. I think that's enough about our show. I think we want to get into the cool stuff that you want to talk about, PvP. So what's the first thing on the docket here?
So yeah, the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Junkertown map. I'm going to go ahead, while we're talking, I'm going to be playing some PTR Overwatch, so you guys have some gameplay to watch. And yeah, so Junkertown. That is, for everyone watching the video, if you don't know what it is, it's the newest map in Overwatch. It's going to be a payload map, and it's being released. I'm not sure when, but it is probably going to be coming to PTR, I assume within the next week, because it is at Gamescom right now, and there's actually streamers and YouTubers playing the map and featuring it today. So I actually saw that on YouTube today. They did a huge preview of the map and everything. But
yeah, the map is really open in first point and gets to be a little bit more of a streets type phase, kind of like your King's Row between the capture point and point 2. And then it kind of steadily gets more and more narrow, it feels, like more of the highways and the byways, similar to King's Row feel.
Yeah, from what I could tell was the first thing I really thought of was Route 66. I guess it's not exactly like Route 66, but it's kind of similar, like in art style a little bit, like in terms of the colors they used. And it starts out on offense in a huge open field, right? It's like outside the city, the Junkertown city, and then you go through the initial gate after the first point, right?
Yeah, they released that preview thing with a little like fun story with what Junkrat and Roadhog are trying to do when they get into Junkertown to go and, I guess, usurp the queen of Junkertown, which is the big king's throne room. Well, this one's kind of like a really junky chair, so it's kind of funny going back on that. But yeah, they get kicked out, and so you can start out in the outside area where they get kicked out is kind of the gate into, or the capture point for point 1. And by capture point, this is not hybrid. What I mean is point 1 of the payload, because this is a full payload map.
Yeah, it's definitely something that people are really happy about, especially with the last map being Lunar Colony, being a 2 CP map. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Everyone spent the last year and a half complaining about 2 CP, and they're
whining.
They're like, light bulb, let's give them another 2 CP map. Like, I was so happy that it was a payload map, because, like, guys, I love Junkrat, and with all the love that Blizzard's giving Junkrat lately with his buffs, and there's an animated short coming out Wednesday. They actually released 2 videos yesterday, like I don't know what to call it. It was like just a regular video with Roadhog and Junkrat, like an intro to the map, I guess. video. And then they also had the what was the other one?
It's like the Queen of Junkertown introducing it is like a 1.5 minute video, and the other one is like a 3.5 minute clip with Roadhog and Junkrat.
Yeah, that's a better explanation. But yeah, since Junkrat's getting so much love, I was so happy to see that his map is going to be a payload map because people are going to love it. Like everyone, there's like not a single payload map that people don't like, so that's really good.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah,
yeah let's talk about the most interesting thing about this map for me. You can comment on this, PvP, but I found that in general, the payload maps outside of Gibraltar don't have as wide of an open area right out of the gate as much as Junkertown. And that seemed very interesting to me because traditionally, like, you know, you get into Route 66, it's fairly narrow with kind of like one ramp, one really small side area, a lot of cover for the base, like main area. This one, like the payload is right by the doors. Like it's right there.
Yeah,
and it's super open.
I haven't really paid attention to the map a lot because I've only watched the one video where it was like gameplay. But what I did notice is that the payload's super close to the doorway, like right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good thing because I don't know, being first point held on a payload map kind of sucks. I feel like
it does.
You know, just like ending games early or keeping games going. Let me turn my sound on the game I'm playing. Yeah,
no
so keeping games going by, you know, getting first, second, and third point makes it more fun in general. But yeah, I think we could talk about the most interesting part in the entire map is the moving platform on the third point.
Oh yeah.
I'm always I usually hate things like that. Like on Lunar Colony, I really hate the outside part with like the anti-gravity. Like it's a cool touch, but it's just like, you know, from a competitive stance, I'm just like, nasty. But and then you also have on Oasis the jumping pad. Like that's really different, but it's also cool. But I don't know. What do you think about the moving, like the rotating?
So
panel?
when I saw the moving platform for the first time, and it's not just a coincidence that I've been watching a lot of Smash Brothers like pro matches, but I feel like that's gonna kind of be one of the inspiration points, and maybe even some Quake maps where there's actually moving areas, because it makes it adds a layer of
complexity.
I guess you could say a complexity and luck, which I do like in a game that's traditionally very skill based. Because the only aspect of luck that we have is the random spread within some of the pellet guns or the rapid fire things, like with McCree's gun, for example.
Yeah.
And maybe how your
Junkrat's
lesser skilled Junkrat. Yeah. I was gonna say lesser skilled Junkrat mines out there. So I really like that aspect, and I also think that it's really dynamic because the only other thing that's similar to it would be, like you said, would be inside the moving platforms of Volskaya and in Route 66.3, right? Those are the only moving things that we have.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, those platforms.
At least within payload maps. Probably should say it that way. In payload and 2CP, I don't really remember anything offhand, but that's the closest thing. And the other thing is the platforms are really big, so you can almost use them as cover if you're contesting high ground there. And the other thing about that area is there is like a really cool... There's tons of really intriguing flanking paths around that area.
I really like the small corridors and those flanking paths too. The really unique part about the point that we're talking about is the third point, which is the Queen's throne room. But the really unique part about it is that it's just a circle. Like when you go in to the room, you're pretty much fighting in the exact same spot as when you're about to cap the point and win the game. And there's actually like a really short flank route that goes like underneath on the left, which is right at the very, very end. So that's pretty unique. I think it'll create some really interesting fights in that room.
Now, I will say one negative thing about the map is just more of a missed opportunities rather than something that is there. When I think Junkertown, I think of, you know, the apocalypse. You know, you got the ripped tires, you got super spiky things. I always thought that they were going to do something similar to basically Gladiator mixed with, you know, the apocalypse in like Mad Max or Borderlands, right? Yeah. Like I was hoping and praying that with the leaked announcement before they actually showed off the map, that there was going to be areas where you can actually take damage from something other than fall or enemy fire. I'm thinking like spines in the side of the map, or like in the little grippy Omnic hands, like maybe it's a slow if you go down there, but you can get the mega health pack. Something like dynamic of how the map can actually influence, similar to anti-grav, right? The gravity is not that great, but maybe they have something that's like a kill slot, like a magma chamber you can like knock somebody into, or something similar to
how Oasis has the cars driving on the side of the map.
Yes, exactly.
That's yeah, that would be really interesting to have something like that, or maybe like a death.
So again, just missed opportunities. Yeah, it's not something that I'm like hyper disappointed in, but I feel like they could have. This map has so many different dynamic things that they can do, and I feel like I want all of the things rather than I just want the things that they gave us right now. If
yeah,
that makes sense.
I mean, I guess this in general, the best thing that we can look forward to is that it's a payload map, and there's. Guess we shouldn't really.
Can't screw it up too bad, right?
Yeah, I can't nitpick anything because it's a payload map. But yeah, so I guess we talked enough about Junkertown. We'll see a lot more from it soon, because I'm sure it'll be on the PTR after Gamescom or something.
Yeah.
But, I guess next you want to talk about the D.Va changes that they announced. Or
yeah, so there's a blue post by Jeff Goodman, principal game designer, who says in a response on a Overwatch forum, and I don't know if PvP, if you'll get this in the description, but I'll send you the link nonetheless in our Discord chat, but he says that actually we've been making some significant changes to D.Va internally, and we have been testing them for a while now. The changes are going to be the defense matrix energy drain has been increased by 2-fold. This means that her effective uptime for the ability of defense matrix has been reduced by 50%. So this is kind of like a 4-second to 2-second gig of how long the energy bar can go from 100 to 0. And furthermore, he's adding 2 more things, that the boosters, or the rocket jump, the boosters will now allow you to fire your fusion cannons or your primary fire while you're flying. And they're going to add another ability to her kit called micro missiles, where she launches a long salvo of small missiles that explode on impact, dealing damage in a small radius around them. This ability can be used while using her other abilities or firing fusion cannons. So it is not like McCree, where you are either using your primary fire of left click and emptying your clip, or you're holding the right click down to fan the hammer. These are 2 separate ammo operating functions. And then he goes on to say, a combination of these changes will allow her to be played more aggressively to deal more damage, but at the cost of being able to defense matrix as often. And the matrix will remain extremely powerful tool when timed correctly, but the uptime reduction means that D.Va will not be able to use it nearly as often overall. And then the micro missiles ability, in combinations with her abilities to fire while flying, will allow for some more aggressive play, as well as opening up some new options versus heroes such as Pharah. And then the wrap up is overall that the goal here is reduce the reliance on the defense matrix and more fun and dynamic to play. As far as bouncing goes, they want to nerf the matrix ability, not D.Va herself. So PvP, what are your initial reactions? And then maybe kind of as you've been mulling this over, what have been kind of like maybe more of the safe like things that you think would be an opinion to have on this?
My initial reaction is I just dominated those kids in free-for-all. But
I was watching that. Holy crap. Dude just like got wrecked.
I really I won 2019 to 19, but anyways,
oh man.
My initial reactions to the D.Va changes is like it's kind of weird because D.Va's a tank, and they're like transitioning D.Va away from the tank role because they're giving her more offensive abilities. I don't know. It's just I don't know. That's just my initial thoughts. It's kind of weird because I mean, also my initial reaction was, thank God they're changing defense matrix, and it's also a huge buff to Junkrat because you don't have to worry about defense matrix as much. But I don't know. Well, it's gonna be interesting because D.Va's gonna be more offensive, but is that gonna be a good thing for D.Va? I feel like I don't know. It depends on how much damage that her new ability is gonna do, because I feel like D.Va's not really going to be a tank anymore, and it's just going to be so much more beneficial to have something else that's going to help the team more defensively. But who knows? I mean, maybe it'll be a good thing. Maybe D.Va will be even better. But
So let me run you by a few things that Geoff Goodman didn't tell us that may influence a little bit more of your opinion. But with the disclaimer that with any opinion in preliminary stages, even if we have every ability and we have all of the knowledge on PTR, things will shift drastically once it hits live and people actually start figuring out how to play it in comp. So when you use your fusion cannons PvP, do you or do you not have a movement speed reduction in the current servers?
Fusion cannon is, you're gonna have to,
the primary fire.
You do
You slow down way down, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's slowed, right?
Yeah, she's slowed, and then she can fire infinitely without reloading as the counteract, right?
I just couldn't remember if they made a change to that already or not. I wasn't sure.
Well, I think that they adjusted it so that it's not as heavy of a slow.
Okay.
And then they remapped kind of the randomness of her guns to be a little bit more consistent. Okay. But that's the last update I remember regarding the fusion cannons. And on top of this, my biggest question is twofold. One, is the movement speed reduction affecting your boosters when you are firing the cannons? Because now that you can fire while flying, are they just going to ignore the movement speed? Because that's a huge change. That can make you aggressive on the ground just by using the boosters across the ground and firing, right? And gap closing. Yeah. And the second thing is we have no idea what the official numbers are with these missiles for both direct hits and splash damage, as well as how much that affects the overall damage per second optimized. Like if you kind of do some averages of like directs or kind of in the middle of the range of the splash damage mixed in with some fusion cannon pellets hitting you, what your damage is like and how realistic it is that you're going to be hitting a lot of these shots with your DPS, if that makes sense, on smaller models or wider models like Pharah or Doomfist, or even just the fact that she's getting a little bit more of an aggressive kit is concerning. If defense matrix means that we're going to see more barriers, I don't even know if we're going to see more barriers as a result due to heroes being able to break the shields faster with this new kit, if that makes sense. So those are my two things. What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting what they do with the missile ability, if it's going to be like really bursty like Junkrat's concussion mine, or if it's going to be like something that is just like zone coverage. I'm not really sure, but it's so hard to think in my head, like what is D.Va gonna be really good with? Like what comp is D.Va gonna go with? I feel like putting a D.Va with a Reinhardt is just, I feel like it's just not that great, because Reinhardt needs that off-tank support, and with defense matrix changing, and it's not gonna be like something that D.Va can just spam to protect Reinhardt. I feel like any type of spam like Junkrat will just run that comp over. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how things work out.
Yeah, now I'm not very familiar with militaristic language, but a salvo, I just looked it up on Wikipedia for you guys wondering. It is basically a simultaneous discharge of artillery or firearms, including guns or missiles or cannons to perform a salute. So in this way, it makes it sound like a long salvo in the language here is going to be somewhat of a short simultaneous burst of a few micro missiles at a time. So maybe like 2 or 4 missiles in a volley.
Is it kind of compared to like Pharah's ult a little bit? Is that where I'm picturing in my head?
I mean, it sounds like it's a mini Pharah ult, but I don't know if this is like a single ability with a cooldown. You know what I mean? Like, like for example, Junkrat's mine or Junkrat's trap. Like you use it and the cooldown goes, right? And then it's just like a quick volley. That seems very balanced to me if the cooldown is, you know, reasonable in relationship to the damage output. And how wide or how narrow is this region? Because if it's random as, you know, it sounds like if we're projecting this as like a mini Pharah ultimate for a burst, then this could be really tough to land and it could be very balanced. But if it's like a single, like a bunch of single mini Pharah rockets shooting at the same time in a very straight area, that seems really busted to me.
Yeah, and what is the purpose of the missile going to be? Is it going to be a finisher, or is it going to be an opener, or is it going to be like
It could be both, depending on if the cooldown's short enough, you know?
Is it going to have any CC effects? Like, is it going to, like, you know, maybe slow people if they get hit by the rockets or something? I'm not really sure. It's going to be really interesting, but one thing...
Is there knockback?
One thing's for sure is that 100% when that D.Va change goes live, the meta is going to, I think, shift drastically. We're going to see really weird compositions come out of this. Just because with how dive comp is now, it 150 bajillion% relies on how often D.Va can spam her matrix and just absorb so much damage, and while the rest of the DPS just kill everything. But without that ability, dive comp doesn't have as much survivability, so it's not going to be able to do what it does best. So everything's going to change, and it's going to be great. So.
Right. I think you said the right thing there, but the key in understanding how the meta shifts is that's what's going to happen at a large scale. You're not talking at the top end per se, but yes, definitely at the top end. Because definitely when you play with divas that know exactly what they're doing, there's going to still be a slight change with them, but the best divas are still going to be utilizing properly their matrices. They're going to be eating the abilities they should be eating, and they're going to prioritize exactly what they need to be prioritizing. People like Mickey, for example, and Geguri on the female player on the Korean team, these people are going to know how to play D.Va regardless of how long that matrix is going to last. They're still going to eat your gravitons, so you still have to watch for the good ones.
Yeah, I feel like
I think
it is going to raise the skill cap of D.Va too, because you can't just hold matrix for 20 minutes and just eat stuff. You're going to have to actually know when to use it to predict things like Zarya, Gravitons, Hanzo, stuff like that.
She definitely becomes more of a dynamic hero rather than just like a bursty bruiser that it just dominates stuff, or a defensive dive tank that just shuts stuff down like easily.
Yeah. All right, so
but I think we can transition into Junkrat changes. You've been talking about this at length on your channel, but I was going to ask you, what do you think is going to actually end up happening, not just with what you think, but what's going to happen with Junkrats who play average? And what I mean by that is when you play Junkrat in bronze to, let's say, lower diamond, what is going to be maybe the impact of giving them just another source of damage? I mean, you've gotten a chance to test the ammo system. It's still going to restrict you, right? It's still going to make the cooldown the same. The cooldown doesn't change. It's just having more of an ammo system
so
for the mine.
I'll just do a quick rundown just for everyone that doesn't know what the buff is. I know there's a lot of confusion with the buff because of the post on Reddit, or the post on the forum that went viral where the dude suggested like the trap damage change or whatever. Like, I've actually talked to a lot of people that think that's the buff that's going live, where like traps getting reduced or increased damage and like mines getting less damage or whatever. But the actual buff is Junkrat's getting 2 concussion mines. That's it. He's getting 2 concussion mines. His damage is staying the same. His Riptire is getting a 30% increase to the movement speed, and he can infinitely wall climb walls. Like, it doesn't get slowed down. You can just climb over everything. But so yeah, Junkrat, how it's gonna affect the lower SR players. It's gonna be really good for the players that don't play Junkrat to its full potential. Because having 2 concussion mines just helps people finish kills. It helps people create more pressure and do more damage. And also, the best part about it is that you earn your Riptire even faster than you earned it before, because you essentially got an extra grenade or extra explosive
damage source.
Yeah, an extra damage source. So you just earned your tire even faster. And on top of that, with Riptire getting the absolute bonkers insane buff that it's getting, you can almost Riptire from wherever you want, and you're gonna get value out of it. So it's gonna help the average, I would say, Junkrats a ton, which is good. But the best part about
ultimate for sure.
Yeah, the best part about it is that the people who play Junkrat at the top end, it's gonna help them tremendously. So like, what I've been telling people is that I don't necessarily think Junkrat's gonna be meta, but I think Junkrat's going to be the hero in the game that makes the meta. It's going to be the hero that everyone has to revolve around, because if you don't respect the
meta check.
He's going to be the meta check. If you don't respect the enemy Junkrat, I think he's going to just annihilate everything.
Yeah, he can be very deadly now. And I like what you said about making the average ones a little bit better, as well as it basically being an effective scaling buff, right? It's not just a, hey, let's just give him more damage, or hey, let's just give him another ability, like with D.Va, after we nerf something. Like, they're just like, hey, why don't we just give him another one of his existing tools, and then we're going to make something a little bit faster in how it moves and see if that changes something. Because the infinite wall climb is probably much more of a dynamic change to players that are mastering Junkrat, but not so much to those that don't really know, because I know everybody that plays Junkrat, in the most part, in Gold and below, will not even utilize the wall climb at all. They don't even know it exists, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and so with the current state, it actually is really hard to get value out of the wall climb regardless, but yeah, it's just really bad. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and the other thing that I was going to mention is, I think you mentioned this in your other video, but I just want to reiterate it, is if you are able to manage your ammo system and your cooldowns with the second copy of your concussive mind, you're going to effectively be able to both engage and disengage with one set of cooldowns effectively.
Like a Doom.
So you can be extremely aggressive and also deal damage while disengaging. That's something that not a lot of heroes have the capability of doing, right?
Yeah. The cool thing about Junkrat is that you have your 2 concussion mines, but you can also get a 3rd concussion mine, because when you throw your first mine, the cooldown starts for getting that second mine back, or the one that you threw. So you can have essentially 3 concussion mines. Like, you can throw one down, wait for it to regenerate, boop yourself in, and then you have 2 concussion mines. So what you can do is you can use your concussion mine again for offensive, and then you can use the 3rd one for a defensive ability to boop yourself away into a safe spot.
Yeah, and it opens up a lot more paths for you to be thinking about where you can maneuver on maps and high grounds and hurdles, like an Eichenwald building, for example. You've always done the double jump. Now you're going to have to figure out, where exactly can I go with this triple jump?
Yeah, I went around in a private match and had some fun trying to think of some new routes. I haven't really found anything yet, but it does make things a hell of a lot easier when you're doing the double jump. For example, like,
I can't imagine
the Eichenwald one where you go over the building. I would always have to throw it down and be like, okay, team, wait 5 seconds, because I gotta wait for my concussion mine to be up. But now it's just like, all right, let's roll. Let's roll.
Yeah,
I'm going in.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So we talked a lot about the concussion mine. I think we should probably go over the Riptire just a little bit, since I mean, what I used to always say was, people would always ask me like, hey PP, how should Junkrat get buffed? I would say I wouldn't give him a 2nd concussion mine, because I think that would be too good, and they did it, and I think it's like, it's insane. But then they did this Riptire buff, and I think the Riptire buff is just absolutely, I don't understand why they thought it was a good idea, because it's just insane. It's so crazy. I mean, the 30% increase in speed is like, it's okay, it's good. But the wall climb thing they did to it just makes it, it's incredible. You can climb, you can go from the first point on Eichenwald almost to the 3rd point on Eichenwald, just because you can climb over the entire map. And it's, I don't know.
Does it affect the timer at all?
No, I mean, you just get 10 seconds on Riptire, and that's it. But it's just so nuts that you can flank over 20-story buildings. It's unreal. Like, I'll try and show you guys a preview in this free-for-all of all the craziness that you can do with the tire, as soon as I get it.
I know that you've been able to dodge shots a little bit more, because now you have an aspect of verticality with the speed not being reduced, and then you can just latch onto a wall as a 3rd surface, right?
Yeah.
And you can use that.
Yeah.
Now, from what I remember, if you are navigating up the wall, the tire will just continue to climb, right? You can't make it stop midway through the wall. Is that correct?
Yeah, it just climbs indefinitely. You can't.
It just infinitely, yeah, until you let go spacebar.
Yeah, you gotta like jump off.
Yeah.
Well, there's auto wall climb too. It's a setting, but it depends on how you have it set up.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's not much more I was gonna say about this, because this is a highly advanced thing. But do you still think that even after the change being fairly good that there's still the issue that you always are preaching in chat about. When you get darted, when you get stunned, flashbanged, whatever, you lose the ultimate before the windup is completed.
Well, the good thing
about that's still an issue.
The good thing about that is, I mean, before, since Riptire was literally the worst ultimate in the game, in my opinion, I had to think of all these creative and stupid ways to use the ultimate, like, you know, like stand behind the team and use it in the middle of all of them. But now that he not only has the speed buff, but the consistency of the wall climb buff, you can Riptire from so many different locations that you'll be safe from wherever you want to use it. So you can get value from using it far away, which means you're not gonna have the risk of getting hooked or getting slept while you're calling it in and losing your Riptire before you can even start moving it. So that's gonna be really, really nice. You won't be hearing me complain about getting killed when I call my tire in, or EMP'd when I call my Riptire in, which is like the most insane thing ever. But yeah,
I forgot how to pull the plug,
yeah.
or pull the cable to launch the Riptire. Yeah, but if you guys are wondering, I know that this is something interesting, of like, because it's really hard, I think, on paper when you're looking at something that's like 30% or 50% to like really evaluate it. But to give you an idea, it's basically if you have Lucio's speed boost on permanently for the tire.
Yeah,
like that's how it feels.
Lucio,
it's freaking bananas.
Just think about a Lucio speed boost on a Hanzo wall climbing.
There's the freaking wall climb that we're seeing on the freaking footage right now. He's just going a wall. He's gonna go paint the walls with this tire. Just put some paint on it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I think we talked.
I think
about that with tire, or the Junkrat.
Yeah. So season 5 is closing out here at the end of August, regardless of when this closes out. So the end of August 2017 for you timeless YouTube watchers. But in the dawn of season 6, what are some things that we'd like to see shifted for competitive mode particularly? That may just launch to the moon.
And off the map. But anyways, I guess I'll just do like a quick rundown of what I think really went wrong in season 5. I think it all started with it either started with the dive comp being extremely stale, or it started with the mercy issue. Basically the mercy issue was Mercy was gaining way too much rating than she should have. So a lot of one-trick Mercies will have a 45% win rate, but they'll still be at 4,500 rating, like top 100, because they gain more than they would lose every time. And the issue with that is Mercy, the hero itself, is easiest in terms of mechanical skill, which makes it so anyone that one-tricks Mercy doesn't have to be good at any other hero, and it's going to be really hard for them to be good at any other hero because you don't have to, like, you don't shoot anything with Mercy. So trying to play like Anna is going to be a lot more difficult for a one-trick Mercy, which makes it a lot more difficult to play with those players because they're just in general, you know, bad at other heroes. Not everyone, but that's just kind of, you know, just how it is in general. So people were really sick of that. On top of dive meta being meta for 15 years and just absolutely sick of defense matrix. And then what else was it? Oh yeah, and the other major issue was the failed reporting system that they have in season 5. Basically,
kind of just hit critical mass.
Yeah, the example I always use is you have like Tim the Tatman, right? He streams to 15,000 people on Overwatch. You can have 2 people on his team throwing the game, you know, just building turrets in random places, putting too much of teleports off the map, and nothing can be done about that. It just blows my mind that 15,000 people could be watching that live, and those people won't be banned just because of how bad the report system is. And there's no like way of reporting people via proof of video unless you make a Reddit post and it goes viral, or if the person's a pro player or a streamer. There's just no way that someone's gonna get banned for trolling or griefing. So yeah, leading into season 6, 100% I would like to see a good revamped report system. That's
especially for console.
That's the #1 thing that I would like to see. I don't know what your opinions are on the matter.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see what they just rolled out hit. Either it needs to be Well, okay, let me back up. I think that what they rolled out right now is a Band-Aid. It's not the end-all be-all. And they need to finalize whatever the end-all be-all is going to be and make it consistent. And then the second that that's ready, they need to not give it to us, but wait until the community on the PlayStation and the consoles can receive everything all at the same time. So it sounds a little bit off, but from a game development standpoint, it is much better when you're rolling things out together. And if there's anything we've learned, even just from getting simple update patches or hero patches that hit console, and they hit it after PC, the console players do not like that. And I don't personally like that. I feel like everybody should get it at the same time, but the only thing that's holding Blizzard back from doing so was either the PC people are going to have to wait, and then they'll announce it and they'll release it to everybody, or they'll just give it to PC and they'll have to wait for the loopholes and the red tape on the console to go through Microsoft and Sony, respectively. So I think that that's one of the biggest things, and it's an ongoing process. But to kind of go back on what I said, if the reporting system is going to take too long with the red tape, they need to roll out if it's finished, if it's going to take too long. Because then you're sticking around with basically an open wound with a Band-Aid on it for too long. And people are going to get real frustrated, especially since that's the competitive game mode that they've established, right?
Yeah, I played on
and there
console.
Needs to be more of checks and balances.
I played on console season 1, 2, and 3, and it was annoying when PC got all the cool features first, and it just feels like the console community was completely left out, and you know they haven't really made any balance changes on console in terms of hero changes, except for Symmetra and Torb, which is kind of irrelevant. I've been saying since before competitive even started that Fire and Mercy is just absolutely ridiculous on console, and they need to do something about it. And they still
Pharah is, even without Mercy, is really, really powerful.
Yeah, they still haven't done anything about it. At least they buffing Junkrat, so Junkrat might be able to tear up some Pharahs. But yeah, anyways, I know on Xbox the report system actually isn't Blizzard, because there's no report system on console, right? Is that how it works? Or I can't really remember.
They don't have it on PlayStation either. Personally, I think that the report system is geared towards their account, right?
Yeah,
on the Xbox Live store.
Yeah, like on Xbox, you do it through Microsoft, just reporting their gamer tag. And if you get too many reports, you actually get this thing called avoid me status. And anyone on avoid me status, they can queue competitive, but they can only play with other people that have avoid me status, which leads to them getting 40-minute queues, and you basically can't play comp, which is usually a good thing. It's actually a pretty good system. It sounds like it could be extremely abused. It's usually a good system because a lot of people will be trolls, and then they'll get a lot of reports and they'll be avoid me status. But there are situations where it's abused, like you'll have really good players, and you just get a bunch of people to report them and you get to avoid me. Luckily there are ways to get off of avoid me status, which is, I think, a good thing, because it's I mean, once you get on avoid me status, it sucks, because it's happened to me before on one of my alt accounts, because I just like playing Hanzo, so, and people would report you.
They just grief you.
Yeah, they just report you and you get it, and it's whatever. But there's ways to get off of it. So what I thought of was have a punishing report system to where when people are griefing, it puts them on this crap. It puts them in this crap situation that they hate being in. Well, guess what? I don't think they're gonna keep doing what they're doing because they don't want to be in that situation again. But I mean, I'm not really sure how they can go about implementing it on PC to not get abused.
Yeah, I think there has to be something where they basically tie everything with the battle.net accounts and then do it through that. That would be my guess. But then you'd have to basically add some sort of in-game system where they can access Battle.net on consoles for them to do that, is my guess. And I think that is actually more plausible than it sounds, just by nature of Destiny 2 being rolled out for consoles and PC. They might be able to also do the same type of function within that game, and this could also be a kind of a predecessor before the real Destiny 2 rolls out.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're merging Destiny 2 with Blizzard, or how's that working again? I don't really know.
They basically, it's an Activision is the big thing. There's Activision Blizzard, and then there's Blizzard Entertainment, and so they're basically under the same, company, but Activision Blizzard has a separate team outside of, Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4, Team 5, and Team 6. Team 6 being Overwatch, Team 5 being Hearthstone, and then Backtrack basically with Diablo, StarCraft, etc. Okay. So they don't actually have the same office in Irvine. It's run by Bungie and the other developers.
A lot of complicated stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot of red tape, but it's kind of what happens. It's kind of the similar situation with Google and how Google operates with Alphabet. If you want to look up some things there, Alphabet is a big like parachute company by which Google fits under, and all of the other Google stuff. So we don't want to belabor that too much, but within Season 6, the other big highlight that people are tossing around right now, and something that people are wondering could potentially hit the game, is roles and role selection. And I've heard two really, really solid things that have come out. One is straight out of, well, I hate to toot our own horn, but we had one that we had on our show from Curry Shot TV. If you guys want to go check that out, that show should be going live in the next 24 to 48 hours. But at the very end, he talks about some of his same sentiments that PvP's talking about with the reporting system, as well as just people coming in and only being matched with, you know, if you have like 3 people that play Junkrat and 2 people that play Mercy, you're like, well, we don't have anybody that flexes to play, you know, Diva or Winston or Reinhardt or something that's a tank. And so Valkia also did something himself where he came up with like a separate role system and a graphic, and a lot of people gave him a lot of crap for it. But I feel like at least he's trying to provide solutions rather than sitting back and not providing any ideas, if that makes sense. So what do you think, PvP?
Okay, well, I guess on the Valkia situation real quick, I mean, just Valkia, you know, providing solutions and stuff like that, even if it gets negative attention, it's getting attention. So that's a good thing.
Exactly.
One, I actually I did like a little interview talk with a smaller podcast called Blackwatch Intel the other day, and it was pretty much on the topic solely of the role system. Yeah. And his best idea, or like the idea that he likes the best, was having it so 3 people are on the role lock system, or like preferred role system when it goes to matching people together. So you have 1 tank, 1 support, and 1 DPS. There's never going to be a game where you don't have 1 tank, 1 support, and 1 DPS. So, and then the other 3 people would be just, you know, 3 random people or whatever. So you're guaranteed to have like a base on your team composition, and then the other 3 people would fill. The way that he presented it was that the people who are locked in the role can only pick heroes from that role. Just booped High Noon off the map. But anyways, that's what he was presenting, was like the people that lock that role, they can only pick heroes from that role, and then the other 3 people can pick whatever hero. But I kind of liked, you know, you set up the game to where people, like, you have people queue up their role or whatever. Like, someone wants to play DPS, so they queue up DPS, and then maybe everyone else can queue up flex or whatever, and then within the first 3 minutes it tries to match up balanced lobbies based on getting 1 DPS, 1 tank, 1 support, and then 3 flex players. But after 3 minutes, it'll just it'll just throw people in a lobby and just get people playing. So, because a lot of people's complaints are queue times are going to be extremely long if they do the role system. So I feel like that's a good answer to removing queue times. But I don't think they should, the people that pick the role, they shouldn't auto lock into, they shouldn't be limited to the heroes in their role, because the problem you might have is a Hanzo one trick will insta lock DPS role, and then he won't be able to play anything else other than Hanzo, or because, well, I mean, other than DPS, which means he's only going to play Hanzo. But there are those games where you convince that player, you know what, like, Hanzo's not working, you're getting hard countered, do you mind playing Lucio for us? And there are those games where those people, they don't mind playing Lucio, or they don't mind playing Reinhardt or something.
But you don't want to lock them into not being able to flex,
so
which is the biggest issue with the system.
Yeah, so I feel like you do want to have it open still, so you have the opportunity for those players to still play other heroes. But in terms of pre-balancing lobbies, I think it's really, really good of having the 1 tank, 1 support, 1 DPS role.
Just a step in the right direction.
Yeah, just so you have a basis on team composition, because currently the problem is you get 5 Mercy mains and Soldier 76 only player or something. Yeah, which is very bad.
Yeah. Yep. So for me, I think that I don't really have a proposed solution per se, but rather a directional solution, if that makes sense. And what my concept here would be is that Blizzard needs to take this existing system that they've built and start using the things that Scott Mercer said that they were trying to build, which is like a match history within the game, so that they can monitor like and display to you what games you've played and what heroes you're playing throughout the game, and if you're winning or if you're losing on specific rounds with that hero. For example, Li Zhang, maybe you play Lucio for point 1, you play Zenyatta for 2 and 3, and you win because you made that switch, for example.
That would be really cool.
But I think that what should happen is that Overwatch is a game that is built in the non-competitive esports scene for competitive solo, duo, whatever queue, is built around being flexible with players that you're encountered with, because it's not League of Legends. It's not a MOBA where you lock something in and that's all you get, and there's no bans and stuff, but like it's built around flexibility. And so what needs to happen is the rewards by which you win and the detriments by which you lose should be lesser or greater depending on what level of flexibility you're displaying and how you're performing based off of your flexibility.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of words to kind of like adjust to that, because I know PvP, you've talked with me privately and publicly on your channel and like it's just in depth about the difference between becoming a good player by virtue of non-one tricks, right? Like you've done the one trick thing, what, 2-3 times now, and you're just like, it doesn't help. Like it can be done, but it doesn't mean it's the best system, and it doesn't, like, it forces people to play around you rather than you playing with people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, go ahead. You can comment.
Yeah, I'm pretty adamant about really hating one tricking. Although I've done it before. The only reason I've done it before is to prove a point. I wanted to prove that, you know, I could do it as Junkrat, I could do it as Doomfist or whatever. But I don't support one tricking. It's not that I hate people that one trick. It's okay. It's just, as long as you're working with the team, you're in voice chat, it's cool with me, whatever. But I mean, I'm a strong believer that Overwatch is a game of counters, and learning how to play multiple heroes in Overwatch is just going to make you such a better player in general. It gives you more game sense, because you know if you're playing McCree really well, and you know what the enemy McCrees are going to be doing because you learn how to play McCree, which might make your Junkrat better because you know how to play McCree, so you know how to play Junkrat. Yeah, you just know how to play Junkrat better against McCree. And it's just better in terms of reducing toxicity. People get really upset when you're that guy that, you know, you only play McCree no matter what, and you're never gonna switch. And it's just like people don't queue up to like push your car because you're out of gas or something. I don't know an analogy I could use, but like, you know, people queue up because they want to work as a team in Overwatch because it's a team-based game, and they want to work together and win the game, not to queue up and have a player on their team that's only going to play one hero and you're stuck working with that one dude.
Yeah.
They're going to call you toxic if you aren't going to work with them, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
If you play X hero, yeah. It's like, I'm going to report you if you play X hero. It's like, well, that's not how the game works. You can be stubborn and it still be okay. Like, there's a difference between being a stubborn player and being flexible, right? And like being toxic. Like, those are the three camps, right? They're not, like, toxicity isn't overlapping with people that are just, you know, stubborn. Although sometimes you get stubborn and toxic people. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're
of course.
always connected. You have a couple legendary players you play with on your stream that get a lot of chat, good funny chatter. I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
That are really stubborn but not like toxic.
The best advice I give people that are I guess one tricks, or people that just, you know, think they're only good with one hero or whatever, I always tell people is to, as soon as you get in the game, insta lock whatever hero you want to play. If you want to play Junkrat, insta lock Junkrat immediately, because that's gonna do two things. It's gonna let your teammates know that you want to play Junkrat, and it's also gonna let your teammates know that you're a Junkrat player, and you know you're probably gonna be really good with Junkrat. But what might happen is everyone else on your team might insta lock 5 DPS, and then you're stuck in a bad situation. So you talk with each other and you're like, okay, well maybe I'll go support if you can go tank, something like that. Or what else might happen is you might insta-lock Junkrat, someone else will insta-lock soldier, someone else will insta-lock tank, another dude will tank, and then another dude will insta-lock, or 2 other people will insta-lock support, and then you're chilling. No one's gonna complain because you got a comp that's good to go, and everyone will probably work together. Right. But just insta-locking a hero and then be like, all right, everyone, figure out what you're doing because I'm doing this, is a really bad way to start off the game.
Yeah. I just think that, like, you know what I mean? Like, when we were talking about these changes and stuff with trying to basically make the system reward flexibility and powerful flexes rather than playing McCree all the way up, you know, is good. But I think in tandem, if there's any time that they could roll out this system and it be good, it's now, because they're rolling out this mode that you've been showing all of your game stuff, your gameplay footage for this video with Chateau Giard and Deathmatch. You got Team Deathmatch, you got Free-for-all Deathmatch. This is where people that want to just kill stuff go. And it's not that they're just providing this area, but that they can maybe make this other adjustment to reward flexibility to also increase the overall impact in the game of how it feels to play comp. And, you know, people that don't want to push the payload still queue up competitive with Hanzo because that's where they can kill people and be competitive. Where, like, if you're in deathmatch, you have a clear winner, and it's not like you're playing quick play and you're like, you didn't push the payload, but you're like, oh yeah, I'm really good. It's like you can be really good in comp, but there's another aspect to this game mode that I wanted to highlight and see what you think about, is the loading screen or the matchmaking screen when you get into Overwatch and you hit the play button. What displays there? Because if you're playing Overwatch, you're going to see quick play, competitive, arcade, and like one other thing, right?
Yeah.
And I can never remember. I think it's like custom, or did they move custom into arcade now?
Yeah, they moved custom into arcade, yeah.
So I think that is a good change, custom into arcade, but the fact that you have to go through custom to find deathmatch could be a large barrier to entry for people finding deathmatch. And I think deathmatch should be a front page play button ticket that will help people be deterred from playing comp in a toxic way, and also understand that when you play any video game that's out there that's a shooting game, deathmatch is basically a fixture of the game, is going to be right there, you know.
Yeah, the way they have it now is that when you click on arcade, it's one of the options in there.
Yeah,
but I agree. Deathmatch and team deathmatch and deathmatch, I feel like it's its own entity. It's not necessarily arcade. I think what they should do for arcade is keep it to you know, total mayhem, keep it to no limits, like all the different unique brawl ideas. And I think they should keep deathmatch, or separate team deathmatch and free for all, because it's just, those are game modes that are here to stay. They're not going to go away. Like, they shouldn't go away because they're really good, they're really different, and I think it's really good for the game to have that. Like, the good thing about going in free for all, for example, is that you don't have to be playing as a team player. I think it's the first so free for all is the first game mode in this game where you can just queue up and not worry about teammates, right? You just do whatever you want because you're just by yourself.
You can play against other people that you don't have to rely on anybody else but yourself.
So you just go in there and you chill and you kill things and you have fun. But yeah, the problem is people, well, for a while they were queuing up quick play, and then eventually they just got bored of quick play, so they queue up competitive, and they have that same mentality of they just want to go in, chill, kill things, and not worry about teammates. So now they have deathmatch for people to do that, and it's a lot of fun. Like, I play team deathmatch and free for all quite often off stream, and just to chill and just kill things. But yeah,
they could even roll out the deathmatch and team deathmatch buttons underneath quick play, and just have like the quick play button launch quick play deathmatch, team deathmatch. That would be what happens when you go to quick play. Oh, the other one is game browser. You're cycling through it, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So game browser is the other one that you got in there.
Yeah, is that in arcade? Oh yeah,
that's on the far right of comp. So it'll be quick play, and then you'll have,
I think it's different
arcade, comp, and
on the live servers. I think game browser is in arcade on the right.
It could be. It could be. Yeah, the PTR footage is kind of janky because like the competitive mode is really weird when it's disabled. It's like shrunk.
Yeah.
So,
I
but
guess,
we're running an hour here. PvP. Do you want to have any other final thoughts as we wrap up?
I was saying maybe we could talk about potential metas and the like what we might think might be happening, but I think that's a pretty long conversation, and maybe we could save that for another time or something. But yeah.
Okay.
So basically, we talked about Junkertown. We talked about Diva nerfs. We talked about the Junkrat buffs. There's a dude in chat that asked me, what do I think of the Junkrat buffs? I'm going to be uploading, we just recorded this past hour conversation. I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube, and I'll put timestamps in the description along with links. And if you guys want to go check that out and, you know, maybe only care about part of the conversation. Also, we talked about thoughts on season 6 and what went wrong in season 5. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up. Let me show you guys once again. Omnic, this is the guy I'm talking with. It's he's with Omnic Lab. Let me pull up their website again. I think I might have closed it. No, I didn't. So this is who I'm with, Omnic Lab podcast. They're primarily done through iTunes podcast, but they do also have a Twitch channel, Discord, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and other links here at omniclab.com/links. And the guy I'm talking with is Rob, and he's one of my mods actually in chat. So if you guys want to ask him questions, feel free to message him or whatever, tag his name. But yeah,
absolutely.
Do you have any closing statements?
No, if you guys want to improve, PvP is a great place for a good chunk of heroes that's not Junkrat, but especially Junkrat and Doomfist, from what I hear. Being a mod,
number one,
I miss a lot of stuff.
Number one Doomfist, number one number one Junkfist, number one Doomrat. There we go.
There you go.
Finally got it right.
Doomrat, I like that. I just got this picture of Doomfist with a peg leg. So
or Junkrat with a gigantic
all right, that's
fist.
gonna do it from us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully this hour-long gig is something entertaining, and I don't know what PvP is going to do with the editing on this, so hopefully you guys enjoy it.
We are
Thanks
not
for
editing a thing. But yeah, I mean,
awesome.
Unfortunately, your voice a few times it did sound a little bit robotic, but it's fine. It's life. It doesn't matter. People can understand everything. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Make sure you guys put your thoughts in the comments, and you know, join the Discord, the Omnic Lab one, the PvP Discord. And feel free to ask us more questions. But hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.